Hi, it's Joe here from Joe's Country Junction, and I am doing a Sew with Joe today. I know it's been a really long time, but I happen to have just enough spare time today that I actually have time to film one. So here, let me show you what I'm going to be working on. As many of you know, I have been working on Frolic leftovers. Some of you maybe did Bonnie Hunter's Quilt Frolic from a couple years ago, and there was a lot of leftover pieces after everything was said and done. Well, I had my leftovers, and then some blog readers saw that I was making blocks with my leftovers, and they said, hey, do you want my leftovers too? Because it's been 2 years and I've not done anything with mine. So here are some of the blocks I've been making. These are using some of the blue and the pink pieces. I've had to add other pieces to make the blocks, to get the blocks big enough, but it's been still a pretty quick way to get some quilt blocks made. So far I have 52 of those. And then I had some pieces that were blue with the teal, and so I needed a way for some blocks for those, and so that I came up with these. And so I'm calling them the blue aqua blocks, and I have 25 of those. And then there's the blue with white, and I only have 20 of those. The other block I've been making uses up a lot of the green flying geese, and the block that I've been making there is this block with those. I have really no idea how I'm going to lay out a quilt with all of these yet. So far I have 65 of these, and I'm going to be working on some more pieces to make more of them because I have more of these flying geese pieces right here to use up. So I'll be making some more of these half square triangles right here because I have plenty of this kind of half square triangle, but I don't have enough of these. So I went back, cut out a few more of these, and then I'll be making a few more. But 65 is a good number because I could do an 8x8 setting, but as long as I have more pieces to use up, I'm just going to keep using them. So those are the blocks that I currently have going on, but a new block is starting in, and these are going to be kind of like, oops, sorry, the raspberry print with white background. And so they're going to be kind of like this. They'll get another half square triangle block up here, and we'll be adding those together to make a block. And that's what I've been working on, or what I will be working on today at my sewing machine. And I am sewing with my Pfaff Grand Quilter. It's my favorite machine. It only has a straight stitch to it, but I absolutely love it. My sewing room is an absolute mess. Rather than filming this video, I really should be cleaning my sewing room, but that's not happening today. So give me a second. I'll set up the camera and we can start sewing. Okay, so I'm at the machine now. As I said, I'm working on with my Pfaff Grand Quilter. It's my favorite machine in the world, and I am working on getting ready to add some corners to these half square triangles that I've sewn together to make what seems like a flying geese block. But I didn't make actual flying geese because I had a whole bunch of these triangles and I just sewed those together. And so now I'm just going to be adding these pieces to the sides, one to each side, and then I'll be adding them to these that I already have sewn. Rosie's up here with me today, so if you hear a bunch of dog or chewing or background noise, it's probably her. She's just over here, and she is chewing on well, it's an old spool of thread that doesn't have any thread left. It just has the plastic left on it, and she kind of likes to chew on those. I have my trusty scissors here to cut in between if I need to. And so I'm just sewing along. Today happens to be Halloween. Calissa and the boys are coming over later, and Calissa's boys don't like to go trick-or-treating. She's tried before to convince them to go, and Carver's kind of scared of Halloween, and Gannon is super shy, so neither one of them are very interested in trick-or-treating. But over over the past, or in the past, Carver has been at my house and he has handed out the trick-or-treat candy, and that he does enjoy. So they're coming over later. Calissa said that she would bring some appetizers and have an appetizer supper, and that we would hang out and pass out trick-or-treat candy. My plans originally were to work in the garden today, but I looked outside and it's super windy. I need to put my garden away for the year. I've done some of the preliminary work and got some of it done, but I still have my tomatoes on my tomato cages and they need to get taken down and out. And as October turns the calendar into November, yeah, my days are getting numbered, so I really should probably be out doing that, even though it is super windy, and I might go out and do it later. But first I thought I'd film this. I've had a lot of people ask me, why aren't you filming any more So With Joe videos? I guess the best thing that I can answer that is to say life. It's been really crazy, and I just really haven't had time. And the only sewing time I've gotten in probably in the last month, I think pretty much all of October, I haven't had a single Saturday or Sunday to stitch or to sew until today. We've just had family things going on. We had a wedding going on. Kayla was here yesterday and visited for the day. There hasn't been any time. Oh, and then the one Saturday I spent the entire Saturday and Sunday trying to get the mail taken care of and cleaned up, which I'm getting closer, but even that isn't still all the way done yet. I'm going to just trim and put the other side on these. This time I'm using my scissors, but usually I use my this piece, my Gypsy Quilter cutting gizmo. The ones that I've had this one for years and years and years, and the ones they have now are a little bit different, but they still work the same. I'll show you how to use that next time I have to trim pieces apart. So now I'm just going to start sewing on the other side. This has been kind of fun for me to sew with the leftovers of Frolic. I really like sometimes just sewing with no pattern, because none of this was a pattern. It's just bits and pieces. I have a whole nother stack over here of more half square triangles, and I was thinking that I might make more of these blocks. But I didn't know, because all of these blocks have the same half square triangle. You can see the same color here and the same color here is in every one going all the way around. And I sorted and sorted and tried to sort these out, but there is not 4 of the same half square triangle with these. These are all just like a variety mix. So I didn't know if I should try to maybe mix match them, and that would look okay or not. So we'll see when it comes down to me getting a quilt designed. Right now I have 52 blocks, and I would prefer to have like 56 blocks, because then I could do a 7x8 quilt. So I might just do 4 more blocks of these, or maybe I'll use these as a border. I don't know. That's kind of the fun thing about designing this way without having a pattern first and just kind of doing things kind of as you go. I don't know. We'll just have to see what happens. But for right now, it's kind of fun. I am getting to the point that this project is, I don't want to say winding down, but the construction of the blocks, that aspect of it is winding down, but not the whole project. Because obviously, I probably have 3 quilts going on there, maybe 4 quilts, probably 4, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 quilts. I just have no idea, because there's 25 of these blocks and 20 of these blocks. That would be enough for us, like a baby quilt, but who knows? I think first I'm going to probably tackle the blocks that have the green in them. But I'm not done sewing those yet, so I haven't even had time to sit down with EQ and check. As you see, I'm not a pinner. If I just have two pieces like this, I would never pin them. I would just lay them on top of each other and then run them through the machine. And even at that, I don't pin too much. Oh, I have some leftover threads here. This must have been a mistake here, and I ripped it out but didn't pick off the threads. Run a couple more through. And this is the last one. I'm going to put one of these on and then I'll trim those apart again. And this is where I'm kind of different from everyone else. At this point, a lot of people would stop and iron these, and a lot of people would stop and iron these as well. And that's one thing that I don't do. I'm not against it. I just have not done that. So now I'm just trimming with this cutting gizmo, and there's a razor blade in here, and the razor blade just trims the pieces apart. And like that, they're all cut apart. I actually prefer to use this over a scissors when I'm trimming the chain piecing. And I'm going to start adding some of these. And again, this is the spot where a lot of people would pin, but being I don't have these ironed or anything, I just take and I match these seams together, I butt them together, and then I hold my thumb there, and then I run it through the machine. And then I have that one in place, and so then I'll come down, sorry you can't see this better, but I just flip the seam and butt the next seam that I need to match and line that all up. And then I just sew them through. I'm not super picky about being perfect. That's not my objective when I quilt. I know a lot of people really want perfection, and things being off just a little bit really bothers them. It does not bother me, and I've done this way so long that I think my quilts still turn out okay. I would just never want to be a person that ended up not sewing because I was worried about things not being perfect. I'd just rather have them done and enjoy the process. Oops, and just like that, I'm out of thread. It seems to happen. I think I have more in a bobbin here. I know I needed to fill some pretty soon, but yes, I have another full bobbin. Yahoo! One thing that I often do if my grandkids come is I want to get something sewing related done. So what I end up doing is I'll bring them upstairs in the sewing room with me, and I'll just fill bobbins, and the kids think they're sewing because they're sitting next to a machine. They think they're sewing, and then they enjoy filling bobbins. Okay, I'm gonna pull back and grab these couple and put the other sides on now. I kind of sew like this. I usually do, I don't know, somewhere between 2 and 6 blocks, run them through the machine at a time, and then I will finish those, and then I'll go back to the beginning process and and start in on some other blocks. And I don't know why. I think it's partly because I don't want to say I get bored easily, because I don't get bored. I just like to see progress. So it's so much more fun, I think, rather than looking at a long stack like this that needs attention. I think it's more fun to be able to go, oh, hey, look, I've got one block done. And I get more excited and I want to keep sewing more. So that's often what I do, is I just do 2 or 3 blocks at a time and then set them aside and be happy with the progress that I have. And this big stack of blocks that all need the outer sides put on doesn't seem quite so daunting when I can look at the stack that's starting here that you can't see in the picture that already has 1 block. And I'm just flipping the seams and butting them as I go, and I don't pin. I've been sewing for so long that to do that is really not a good idea. I remember when I first started quilting, I pinned absolutely everything, but I just don't now. And look, another block done. And another block done. Woohoo! I probably should have come up with some kind of different design than stars, but hey, stars are one of my favorite blocks. I mean, who doesn't love a star quilt? So I'm okay with that. This one needs a square on the side. I'm going to pop that on there. When I sew like this, my daughter Kelly, it just drives her crazy because she's like, Mom, just finish the whole pile. But like I said, I like looking at this pile and know that I already have 3 blocks in there that are done. And so to me, this pile doesn't look so daunting. I'm curious, so if you watch the video and if you're a quilter, I'd love to hear if you're more like me and like that pile to have 3 in it, or if you're like Kelly and want to deal with the whole stack all at once. Most of my sewing on these blocks has all been done in the morning. I guess I've told some of you before, or anyone who reads the blog, that I get up probably about 45 minutes earlier in the morning than I need to, and then I dedicate that extra time and I allow myself to sew. And then typically what happens, and what happened with this, is that I sewed as far as I could. Another block done. I sewed as far as I could, and then in that 45-minute session, and then I would realize that, oh, I need to cut more 2.5-inch triangles. So then, being I have my job the way I do when I do in-home childcare for my job in my house, I have to be quiet over nap time. So then while the kids are napping, I have to stay on the main floor so I can observe the kids, but I have to do something really quiet. So sometimes I bake cookies, sometimes I do the dishes, sometimes I cut out 100 quilt squares, and because I just pop my cutting table or my cutting board onto the island in the kitchen, and then I just cut out whatever pieces I need. And that's a way that it helps me so that the next morning when I come up and sew, then I have the 2.5-inch squares that I need to keep sewing on the project. And so the entire time I've been sewing all of these blocks, that's pretty much how I've been doing it, is I sew as far as I can in the morning, and then I cut out some more pieces over nap time, and then the next morning I sew on more. I used to sew a little more in the evening, but the cross stitch bug has really caught me, and I cross stitch usually in the evenings, usually about an hour or so before I go to bed. I sit and cross stitch. And here I have 2 blocks going at a time this time. But I think I only have a few of these left, so I think I'm gonna have to stop and make some of the more side units that I need to add on. I did get a little extra time in sewing today. As I said, today's Halloween day and it's Sunday. Another one. And so I just decided that I was gonna treat myself, being it's the weekend, to a little bit of sewing time, because like I said, it's been so long since I've had any weekend time. That's a long uninterrupted time to sew. I'm curious to know if any of you are American Patchwork and Quilting subscribers and saw our Christmas quilt in the latest issue. We're super excited about that. That was a very fun quilt to make, and it came together really fast. And if you're wondering what quilt that is, I'll have Calissa put a picture right up here, and we'll try to put a picture in so you can see what the Halloween or what the Christmas quilt looked like. I'd really love to make another one, only maybe make it patriotic. That'd be so cool. But there's just so many quilts to make and not enough time to sew them all in. I got a message from a friend of mine, and she said to me, "Are you going to do the Bonnie Hunter mystery? All the colors came out." And so I had to go over and look and see if I wanted to do the mystery this year. And I don't know. I still haven't made a decision yet. I have, I'm sure, plenty of fabric to make it without probably having to buy much. And here's another star. But I don't know. I think I might have to buy the more tealy color because I don't think I have enough of that in a cup. But we'll see. I don't know. I've had so little time sewing lately that I just as soon, I think, stick with what I got going right here, because I don't know if I'll have time to finish all of these quilts that I currently have working on. And I have my Bitcoin quilt is in the back on the quilt machine, which that's been on there for over a month and I haven't gotten that quilted. Over here on my smaller little ironing spot, I have my Scrap Vortex quilt that needs to be quilted. Over here, I have a donation quilt that somebody sent to me that needs a binding put on it. Below my island here that I'm sitting at, I have my double wedding ring quilt that still is not machine quilted. And I still have some UFOs that I'm working on. Speaking of which, one of those is right underneath the camera and you can't see that. And that is my garlic knots quilt that I was working on earlier at the end of summer. And how I somehow got sidetracked on what I'm doing here. So I really have plenty going on that doing the mystery quilt isn't tempting me as much as it sometimes has in the past. But we'll see where life takes me at the point that the first clue is released. I know there's been other years that I've said, no, I don't think I'm going to do it this year. And then at the first clue, it was like, make 70 red 4 patches that are just teeny tiny, and I went, oh, I love 4 patches. I love them in red. Yes, I'm going to do it. So I never quite know until the first couple clues come out whether I'm going to do it or not. But I think Frolic was the last one that I did, and that was the 2019 mystery. I think it also kind of matters where I am with my upcoming cancer treatments on whether I will do the mystery or not. Because first off, if you didn't read the blog yet, my thyroid cancer is back, and it is in my right lower lung. I have a small tumor that is maybe about 1.5 centimeters by 1.5 centimeters. It's not real big, but it's big enough that we probably need to treat it. And so we're working on figuring out how to do that. And if you didn't read my blog post about that, I suggest that you do read my blog post about that. It's because it's a long, drawn out explanation, because there's like a whole thing. My treatment is kind of like if A then B, if B then C, but if C then F. It's really a screwed up treatment as far as anyone who's not dealing with it, for them to kind of understand and see how it works. So I suggest you go back and read that, and I'll put that down in the description box below. I'll put a link for that so that you can find a link to easily go back and find that to read. But there is a possibility that I will end up having radioactive iodine treatment. And if I do that, then I have to be kind of isolated for 21 days. And in that case, I would have lots of time to sew. Or what I really should do is catch up on things, but I would have a lot of time to sew. So in that case, if that lands right, maybe I would do the mystery. So you'll just have to stay tuned and see. Okay, see how we're doing here. I've got another block, woohoo, and another block, woohoo. See, now this pile is looking much better. From my vantage point, I can see this. Oh, you're starting to be able to see this pile too. See, this pile's getting taller and this one's getting shorter, and I love that. I was talking a little bit earlier about ironing, and I said that I really don't iron at this stage. I'll iron the blocks now that they're at this stage. And so pretty much so far, all I've ironed is I ironed the half square triangles when those were initially made. And then when they were sewn together into the 4 patch, then I ironed then, and I haven't ironed since then. And I'll iron when I'm all done here. But that's something that I'll probably save. And being this is Sunday, I probably won't iron these until Monday at nap time, because that's ironing is something else I often do during nap time. the things I really love about this machine is having the big table with it that I can set my stuff out on, and then it's easily accessible. I always have it completely full and in kind of shifting and working around. Okay. Blocks ready soon. Is anybody keeping count on how many blocks I have? Here's 1, 2, 2 more. I kind of have been just making these totally scrappy, and wherever the pieces land, they land. Like here you can see that the piece from this half square triangle is matching this. And so they match, and over here in this area, they're not matching. And this is a scrappy quilt, so that's totally fine. I'm not worrying about any of that. I don't think when you look at the quilt visually, if you're 10 feet away, that you're even going to notice that kind of stuff very much. And in the scrappy quilt, all of that is totally okay anyway. Okay, now I'm back to this stack over here because I'm all out of side pieces to sew on. So we're back to adding 2.5 inch squares. Right now, everything that I'm working on is 2.5 inch based. And so I am, these blocks being their, they have 1, 2, 3, 4 units by 1, 2, 3, 4 units. I started out with 2.5 inch squares, so these will finish at 8 inches. That's a nice size of block, especially if you're this quilt. These quilts will probably go for charity, and so it's a nice size that I don't need a ton of blocks to make a decent sized quilt. I often get asked about what size of quilts I make, and I would say that the size of quilts that charities need the most, that we don't get in, that I don't get in enough of, is twin sized quilts. Many people are making quilts for the foster care system, or I know some of our other volunteer quilters are making them for chemical dependency facilities, rehab centers, and some are making for a ministry mission. And all of those instances, people need something that's twin size or larger. And that is the size that we normally don't get in. And I always figure if a quilt's getting donated, that I'd rather have it be a little bit too big than too small. So I always aim for at least a twin size. And for me, that's about 62 by 80 some or 90, right around there. I always figure I have tall kids, and there's other tall kids in the world that would like to be covered from their neck to their toes. So all of these, somehow I'll either make more blocks or add more sashing or make an alternate block with these so that the quilts will be hopefully close to twin size, if not twin size. That's my goal anyway at this point. Which makes it a little hard with the one stack. I only have 20 of those, so that one might end up being a baby quilt. Keep adding more pieces on so we get more side units to sew on. This one needs to go this way. Okay, I'm going to start adding on. So I want to see more finished blocks. See, I get a little impatient. I don't know if it's impatient or I just like to see progress or what it is, but get those units sewn on to the side. Someone asked me how I feel about potentially having the cancer treatment and how I feel about being home and being isolated. And I have this to say. I love my family very much. I want to spend lots of time with my family, but having a little bit of isolation and knowing that I have that time that I can sew or stitch or have a little bit of more freedom. I know I won't feel super during the whole process, but I still know that I'll be able to get a few things done. I'll still be able to sit and cross stitch, and I can take care of myself, and because I've had the radioactive iodine treatment before. Ta-da! Another one. So I feel like it's okay, and I don't mind the isolation. I'll still be posting on the blog. I can do all of that still. Depending how I feel, I might miss a couple posts, but I would imagine if I do miss a couple posts, my girls will probably jump in and volunteer and write a post for me. So the blog schedule really shouldn't change much. Just keep plugging away on things. And so with that in mind, I already sat down and started making a list of all the things that I need to do if I end up in isolation. And I know a bunch of you are going to be telling me, no, Joe, just relax. But there's a few things that I can do that aren't too taxing that I'd love to have done. And if I end up with a break from all of this and I do end up in isolation, then I'm going to hopefully long arm a couple of the quilts here that I told you about that need to be long armed. And I'm not like super sad about it, about the cancer being back and obvious. A lot of people have worried about me that, you know, how can I handle this again because of, you know, my previous cancer treatments and my previous experience with losing both my niece and my husband. Cancer. I'm really feeling good about it. I don't worry or dwell on death. It's gonna come when it comes, and in the meantime I have quilts to sew and grandkids to love on and blog posts to write and a garage to clean and bookwork to do and a basement to clean. And that's some of the things that I'm trying to look at, some of the positive things, like, oh, if I do have treatment, I can get caught up on my bookwork. If I do have treatment, maybe I can get caught up on my email. I don't know. We'll see what happens, if I'll be able to catch up on my email. That's an ongoing, ever-going battle. But that's okay. So I'm actually feeling really good about it. And I hope everyone in my circle can feel good about it too. Okay, I think we got more blocks. looks like 1, 2. Well, there's one more there, but that one's still in the machine, so we got to make some more side pieces. I still have quite a few more to make. Look, I have this whole stack yet of blocks to finish. So we'll just keep plugging away. Hopefully we'll get them done. As I told you, I have been sewing on these for quite a while, and I kind of made a goal for myself, and I told myself that I needed to get, I'm kind of goofy. When I make a goal for myself, I usually make a smaller goal than I actually know I can do because I really like to succeed in my goals. So I told myself that, okay, my goal was that in the morning when I wake up that I need to try to get 5 blocks made. And so every day I have had a minimum of 5 blocks made, but there's been quite a few days that I've made 8 or 10 blocks done. And so you can imagine how super excited I am today when I'm getting this big stack done. Okay, and here's that next block. We just keep pounding them out. And so I'm wondering if when I do these, if maybe they need a blue sashing along the sides, maybe to set together, or something else. Somehow more blue needs to be incorporated into the quilt. So we'll see how to do that. I'm not quite sure. Some of the pieces that I got from blog readers, some of them are a batik and some of them aren't. And so I've just been mixing the batiks and not batiks together in some of the blocks, but not in all of the blocks. These particularly, I have been mixing batiks and non-batiks. Normally I have my light down a little bit lower and I can see a little bit better, but for filming purposes, so you can see my face, because it's no fun to look at somebody who you can't see their face. I move my light up, but I can't see as good down here at the surface. But I love this light. I believe it's a sew line light. I got it several years ago. They're available on Amazon. And I really like them because they can adjust to different heights quite easily. I can adjust this up. I can adjust it down. I can turn the light this way or that way to illuminate where I need it most. And so they were expensive, but I've had it 6 years, I think. And that's a good investment, I think, because I'd spent a lot of time sewing to have a light for 6 years, and I don't envision me not having it. Or if it does, for some reason, break, I know I would get the exact same replacement or whatever is available nowadays in the same brand or same style. Okay, I keep working on that pile. These and see where I'm at. I think before long we're going to have cabinet over here that has my UFOs along with parts and bits that are like leftover from projects. So this project was over there and it was in a tote, and my goal is to clean up the projects that are in that cabinet. So I have UFOs in the cabinet, And I also, like I said, have some bits and pieces that are specifically left from quilts that I made. So like my Frolic pieces were over there, and there's some pieces from the quilt we had in American Patchwork and Quilting called Moment of Zen. I have some of the scraps from there. I think they're from the fabric line Cider. So at some point I want to make a quilt with those. And so I've been just trying to do one tote and then get one tote, bring it out, deal with the tote, and keep working on the project till it's done, and then get another tote, bring it out, work on the project till it's done. And I've been doing that and having pretty good success with it, either cleaning up a UFO or project leftovers. And my goal is to try to keep working on that until it's completely done. In earlier years of doing childcare, I didn't always get up in the morning before childcare. And so a lot of the time I had over nap time, I spent cutting out quilts. And so I'd cut out a quilt probably 20 minutes at a time. And so sometimes it might take me 2 weeks to cut out one quilt because I would do it over nap time. But I cut out quite a few quilts, and one of them was the garlic knots quilt that I have over here that I'm working on. And I just cut them out and I never touched them because I knew that I wanted to make those quilts. But another one, I didn't have time to sew, but I had time to cut. So I just kept cutting quilts out. So I have, I don't know, I probably have 2 or 3 more cut out over there that I haven't even touched yet. And so I'd like to eventually get to those. And then the other thing I'd really like to do is tackle my scrap buckets, because my scrap buckets are overflowing with scraps and strips, and I need to do something with them. And I made my Bitcoin quilt thinking that I would put a big dent in my Civil War scrap bucket, but you know what? I didn't put that big of a dent in it, and I really need to do more and get that even more under control. And so I'm making, for me, I'm going to keep working on things from the UFO bucket, another block. And I'm also going to be working on those, my 2.5 inch strip buckets. And so I have 2.5 inch strip buckets of batiks. I have 2.5 inch strip buckets of bright colored fabrics. And I have 2.5 inch bucket of Civil War fabric. And so I am making 2022 my 2.5 inch, the year of the 2.5 inch strip bucket, I think. And I'm just going to try to make quilts from my 2.5 inch strip bucket. If you noticed, I kind of switched tactics here because I'm out of the flying geese type piece that I've been needing for the side panels or the side pieces on these. So I'm sewing a half square triangles together again. And I had some more here. And we'll just sew a bunch of these together, see how far we get. I'm piecing those together. I don't pin these either. Feeling I'm not going to have enough half square triangles to tackle my whole stack, because we still have this many more, and I don't have that many more half square triangles that are in the white and raspberry kind of color. So I might end up having to sew and cut or cut and sew a few more of these in order to be able to finish up using these. It just seems like, I know most people would probably stop and count how many they have and how many they need to cut and do everything super precisely, but again, I'm just not that girl. I just don't do that. And this is one thing about me that I've said before, it drives Kelly crazy that I don't stop and count how many of these there are, and then stop and count how many of these there are, and then figure out how many more I need, and then go cut them and go do that all at once. But I don't, because I don't know. I feel like I kind of waste time if I stop and count, because I'll have a lot less to count. Where I'm at, I kind of feel like I lost my video, but I had filmed for about 40 minutes and then my video died. So I don't know what happened. I don't know if I lost the video or what happened. So here I am feeling kind of sad and frustrated that I think I maybe somehow lost the video. I don't know. Anyway, these are the blocks that I've been making. I'll catch up where I'm at. And I've made this whole stack. I made all of those during the spot where I think I lost the video. But I don't know. I'll have to dig into my camera, see if I still have them or not. And in the meantime, I'm just going to keep sewing and making these blocks. So I had some half square triangles these are from a blog reader who also made the Frolic quilt. And these are I had a couple. I think I had 3 blog readers send me scrap bags of their Frolic leftovers. And so right now I am working on these, and I am currently adding the 2.5-inch triangles on them. And my goal is to try to get all the way through this stack and make that many more blocks. But I don't think I'm going to have enough pieces for that. We'll soon see. So I don't really know what to tell you because I couldn't find the video when I initially looked up to the camera to see how many minutes I had filming or if my camera was working. And then all of a sudden I looked and my camera had stopped videoing. So now I don't know where you last heard me at or if I even lost that whole video. So in the meantime, this might end up being a very, very, very short Sew with Jo, but at least know that I tried to do it if I can't find that video back. Oh my goodness. This is what's frustrating about filming, is that sometimes it works. Most of the time it actually works, but sometimes it just doesn't. So here we go. Got another block done. Woohoo! I'm getting quite a big stack of those, which I'm super excited about. I can't wait to have them done. If you notice while I quilt, I really never pull out strings. I always have something under the feed dogs. A lot of people do leaders and enders, and I kind of do a form of leader and enders, but not exactly, because I often just use another piece of the quilt under my machine to use as a leader and ender. And if you don't know what I mean by a leader and ender, what I mean is there's always something in front of the machine, or there's always something under the presser foot. So keep plugging away on these. I'm so excited to be getting towards the end of them. Now I'm nervous and I keep looking up at the camera thinking, oh, did I lose the video again? Oh man. But some days are like that. Okay, I just have a couple more to send through here. Okay, I'm going to clip these apart, and then I'll be ready to sew them onto another batch of the other units. And then we'll see how many blocks I need to make more pieces for. Okay. Okay. So I'm kind of at a loss of what to know to tell you, because earlier I said that I don't pin. So being I don't know if I told you that earlier, that I don't know if I need to repeat it now, because I don't know if I have that video or if it's truly, truly lost. This was that is kind of frustrating. But I'm just going to sew until I'm out of pieces, and then I'm going to probably stop the video and dig around in there in my phone and see if I can find, because I do film with my phone. I'll dig around and see if I can find the video or not. Makes me kind of sad if I can't. I can see already that I for sure I'm going to need some more side pieces to sew onto these blocks. But what I don't know is how many. The holidays are slowly approaching, and I've been working on my Christmas list, and between my experience of not being able to find things and being told via the media that things are going to be hard to find, I kind of did my shopping and I have most of it done already, which that's a huge relief. I like to have it done early anyway. Oh, look what I did. What a goof. This half square triangle needs to be over on this side. So seam ripper is handy. And so I'm just grabbing that, and we'll rip that out quick and put it on the right side. And so I was trying to realistically look at my list of stuff and gifts I wanted to buy or do stuff for. And I realized that I kind of wouldn't mind making my granddaughters, they have bitty babies. And if you're not familiar with what bitty babies are, they're the American Girl doll babies that are actually baby dolls, not older dolls like the American Girls are. And so all three of my granddaughters have bitty babies. So I kind of thought maybe I should just make a dress and a sleeper and maybe a bib or something like that for the girls as dolls as a Christmas present. So I don't love sewing and having projects for Christmas, but I think I could do that. That would mean I need to make 3 bibs, maybe 2 diapers each. And so that means 6 diapers. And maybe another outfit too. So they'd have 2 outfits, 2 diapers, and a bib. I kind of think that's my plan. Another block done. Okay, how are we doing? I'm getting closer to the end of my pile here. Oh, sounds like we have a thread issue. Yep. That happens. I've got my bottom thread, so it's my top thread that's having some troubles. That's weird that my thread broke. I don't typically have trouble with that. So I'm rethreading my top thread in my machine so we can get going again. Okay. Oops. my machine quilted or my machine threaded. I'm going to clip this off, and here's my next block. Yahoo! Okay, I'm going to clip these threads off the block where the thread broke on. And then I'm going to be on my way again. Get it all situated. And we're ready to go. Okay. Flip my seam, because I always press, or how do you want to say, I always butt my seams. So sometimes the seam, as it's coming through the machine, it's twisted, it's flipped the wrong way. So sometimes I have to go under the machine and flip it. But we have another block. Okay, I don't have many pieces left, so I wonder how many more blocks we're going to get done. Maybe 3, maybe 2. Our daughter Kayla is a family consumer science teacher and a health teacher. She primarily teaches health, but this year she was given a class to teach sewing, and she was super excited about it, and her students have been very excited about sewing. And I just think it's awesome anytime kids can be taught to sew. I think it's a wonderful hobby. Another block done. Okay. I'm coming to the end of my pile. Okay, I'm going to clip this one off, and then I have one more unit left. I'm going to add that to this piece. And then we'll count up and see how many more units I need to make. Okay. I have some other pieces here I'm going to throw in as a leader and ender. These are pieces I have cut, and on the side, these are to make the half square triangles, and these are what I need to make. Here, I'm going to reach here. What I need to make in these blocks, so I cut out some more pieces to make this unit right here, the red with the navy half square triangles. So that's what's next on my agenda, and I have them sitting here because I cut them out at a previous napkin. So I'll just run a couple of these through the machine, and they can act as my leader and ender. And then we'll clip these blocks off and add them to our done pile, which really grew quickly while I was filming, because this is the stack of done ones. All of those need to be pressed yet, and these are this is my stack of ones that still need the units added onto the side. And so typically when I do work like this, I'll just count these up: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I make piles of 5. So then I'm do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So otherwise what I normally do is I have more piles, and then I just go back and count by 5s, 5, 10, 15, 20, and then I'll know how many I need left to make. And that way, if I get interrupted or I lose count, I can usually make it all the way 10 without getting interrupted, or to 5 without getting interrupted. So I have 10, and each block needs 4 half square triangles yet on it because we already have the half square triangles on this side. So we would need 2 over here, 2 over here. So 10 times 4 is 40. So I need to cut 40 of the bright pink or raspberry and white pieces. And that's what I'll make sure I make myself a note, and I will just write 40 half square triangles. I call that color raspberry and white. And so then I'll take this little note with me downstairs, and when nap time happens tomorrow, I'll cut another 40 half square triangles, and then probably on Tuesday, so I'll cut those half square triangles and I'll iron those blocks over nap time on Monday. And then on Tuesday, I'll have those pieces cut and I'll sew them in the morning. And then in the afternoon during nap time, I'll iron them. And then Wednesday morning, I'll be back up and I'll be assembling those pieces together to finish these blocks. And that's kind of how I work. Tomorrow morning, I'll be sewing these pieces together. Those are the half square triangles that I need for the green blocks. And so that's how it gets kind of crazy here when I've got so many different projects going on, but I really love it. I have a good time working the way I do, and it really helps me cash in and make the best of the time that I have at the machine. And even in my busy life, I still get plenty of time to sew. And I think all of you also have more time than you think. You just have to work around and think a little bit more wisely. Do you want to wake up 20 minutes earlier so you have 20 minutes of sewing time? That's up to you, and that's what your priority is, and you need to decide that for yourself. So that's what I'm working on with my Frolic blocks. I don't know exactly what they're going to turn into or what they're going to be, but in the meantime, they're one step closer to becoming a quilt, and it's one more box out of my UFO storage, and so that feels good because I'm really trying to get those projects cleaned up. But that's all I have to say for now. I'll catch you later. Have a good day. Bye.